If she hasn't had the children herself, or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family.
If he has woken up somewhere in California and realised that he's messed up and that he's lost his family's respect, maybe he can make it work. The problem he's got is that nobody in the royal family thinks that anything they say to him won't be in the newspapers or on the airwaves within about 30 seconds, because they don't trust him anymore, because he and his odious wife keep opening their mouths.
You need to be over it yourself. Yes. I think it's very worrying for people who fear that they're not actually behaving or thinking or feeling right, that someone should come in who is not very confident that they will be better and tell you what to do. I don't know that that will happen with Harry. I mean, if you looked at how he was in Colombia, he looked wretched, he looked dreadful. He looked as if he should go and see a doctor straight away. He laughed some of the time, but other of the time he was in a terrible state. Now, can somebody like that, who doesn't have a degree, his only experience is himself?
The most consistent theme out of everything with Harry, since Harry and Meghan, it's gone into complete overdrive over the course of the last 2 or 3 days, is that it's all about the press.
I spent 15 months with him and he was absolutely lovely, but all that's gone and he's really nice. He wants to get his own back, and I think that's what Meghan's telling him, and what Meghan tells him, that's what he does.
Anything, Harry and Meghan are actually playing a very nasty game at the moment.
Where will Meghan be? Will that marriage survive?
No.
Because you've seen this guy and you've thought to yourself, there's a barn pot. If I've ever seen a loser, that's him. He blames everybody.
No, of course it isn't. And actually, I think, from what I know from him, spending 15 months with him when I did his biography, to now, he seems to behave like a sort of child that he can only see from his own view.
Prince Harry, something absolutely explosive just shook the royal world. And no, we're not talking Netflix contracts, flashy outfits, or Meghan's next Hollywood move. This time, it's way darker, a bombshell that could shatter the very core of the monarchy itself.
Not a very good idea. It's a look before you leap situation,
yes, I think very much so. But unfortunately, that's not...
The royal family for the 2027 Invictus Games, which could see a long-awaited reunion for the Duke of Sussex and his family. It's been reported that Prince Harry...
Something downright...
Shocking new evidence is emerging. Evidence so toxic, it could tear down everything Harry and Meghan have worked to build around their kids. And right at the center of this firestorm, none other than Angela Levin herself.
Telling about hearing all this nastiness between, you just want to know, you want to hear about it. You can't believe it. You can't believe what he's saying. You can't believe the lies he's telling. And you're fascinated by it, where
A veteran royal biographer, famous for her cutting analysis and fearless honesty, went live on national TV and dropped a revelation so explosive, it sent tremors from Buckingham Palace all the way to Montecito's Golden Gates. No stuttering, no sugarcoating, none of the polite spin the media usually gives the Sussexes. She came in sharp, scalpel in hand, and voiced the claim millions had long suspected, but never dared to say out loud.
So I don't know what on earth she's talking about. And also the fact that they couldn't wait another day and have it on Sunday rather than...
The bombshell? It hinted at something far more serious. Unresolved doubts about Archie and Lilibet's legitimacy. Doubts Harry and Meghan have fought fiercely to bury. And in a family built entirely on image, bloodline, and ceremony, those three words, questions of legitimacy, are the deadliest in the royal dictionary. Because now, this isn't gossip. It's not about Meghan snubbing Kate at the coronation or which designer she wore on a red carpet. This is about lineage, the sacred thread linking centuries of monarchs, the lifeline the crown simply cannot survive without. And Angela Levin's calm, razor-sharp delivery only made the moment more brutal. She didn't yell, didn't exaggerate. She simply asked the one question no one else dared. Why have Harry and Meghan never followed a single royal birth protocol? No hospital step photos like every royal mother before Meghan. No signed medical bulletins from doctors, as tradition requires. No witnesses, no transparent timelines, no clear chain of evidence confirming these royal births happened the way the palace insists they did.
Italy continued to do that without any gratitude. There was no gratitude. Meghan wouldn't be known for anything if she hadn't...
What we got instead were grainy, tightly stage-managed photos where Meghan's baby bump seemed to appear and disappear like a movie prop. Birth locations conflicted, timelines shifted like quicksand, and the silence was deafening. Angela Levin's words cut like a scalpel, because in centuries of royal tradition, births have always been recorded with meticulous detail. And yet, for the very first time, that transparency simply vanished. Why? It was the kind of question that slices straight through PR spin like sunlight through fog. The studio froze. Social media, it exploded. And how did Harry react? Not like the calm soldier the world once admired. He went nuclear. Instead of showing the one piece of evidence that could shut down whispers forever, medical files, hospital records, anything, Harry did what he does best. He threatened lawsuits. It was instant rage. Insiders claim that within hours of Levin's broadcast, his legal team had already drawn up cease and desist letters, citing defamation and harassment and threatening swift legal action. But here's the brutal irony. Lawsuits don't silence rumors. They feed them. The second Harry called in the lawyers, public opinion didn't lean toward pity. It tilted toward suspicion. People didn't think, poor Harry protecting his family. They thought, what is he so desperate to hide? Because when you've got nothing to conceal, you don't send lawyers, you send proof. And that's the one thing Harry and Meghan have refused to give for 5 long years. Meanwhile, Meghan, the self-styled warrior queen, was nowhere in sight. While Harry raged like a cornered animal, she stayed quiet, distant, calculating. She let him take the fire while she slipped into the shadows, as if waiting to see how much damage he'd take before stepping in. That's not partnership, that's abandonment. For years, Meghan's been the strategist, Harry the soldier, but now the war is legal, vicious, steeped in centuries of protocol, and Harry looks utterly outmatched. He's not coming across as a father protecting his kid's dignity. He looks like a panicked celebrity, desperately trying to bury something that refuses to stay buried.
Of today's video. So at the time, Archie Mountbatten Windsor was born May 6, 2019. And this was surrounded by controversy, largely to the unconventional decisions Prince Harry and Meghan.
And you can see it. Royal insiders who once defended Harry are now whispering the same thing. If they've got nothing to hide, why don't they just prove it? Because here's the truth nobody in Montecito seems to grasp. The Monarchy isn't a lifestyle brand, it's not a Netflix franchise, and it's definitely not an Instagram feed. It's a constitutional institution built on one thing: legitimacy, absolute certainty of bloodline. And if that certainty cracks, even slightly, the whole crown starts to tremble. That's why, as Angela Levin reminded everyone, royal births have always followed strict, centuries-old procedures: witness deliveries, signed medical bulletins, immediate palace announcements, and yes, public photos of mother and baby leaving the hospital. Meghan skipped every single step. She treated royal duty like outdated tradition to be modernized or ignored. Not privacy, that's secrecy, and secrecy always breeds suspicion. Now, thanks to Levin's Bombshell, those whispers aren't confined to dark internet corners anymore. They've erupted into the mainstream. Constitutional lawyers are reportedly debating whether, if surrogacy or adoption was involved, Archie and Lilibet could legally remain in the line of succession at all. Let that sink in. We're no longer talking tabloid gossip. We're talking full-blown constitutional crisis. Because if the palace can't prove, with legal certainty, that these children are Harry's biological kids and specifically born of Meghan, as succession law requires, then their claim to the throne could vanish like smoke. That's the real reason Harry is in meltdown mode. Because all the Netflix contracts, brand deals, and podcast money in the world mean nothing if the crown quietly decides your children aren't part of the royal bloodline. That's why his rage looks so wild, so desperate. He's not just fighting for his kids, he's fighting for his entire identity and the fragile empire he and Meghan built on that royal connection. But every lawsuit, Every angry threat, every red-faced outburst only makes him look more guilty. The harder he fights, the more it confirms the suspicion Angela Levin had the guts to say out loud. Maybe the Sussex fairy tale was never real. And here's the kicker. With that calm, grandmotherly smile, Angela leaned into the camera during her segment and quietly dropped the name of the law firm she claims is secretly handling Harry's legal crusade.
Quite confused. Shortly before 2 p.m. yesterday, Buckingham Palace announced that Meghan had gone into labour. Then, 40 minutes later, confirmed the baby's arrival.
Viewers could almost hear the collective gasp ripple across British living rooms. Within minutes, social media lit up like a Christmas tree. Hashtags like #Harry lawsuit scandal and #Angela exposes. Harry shot up the trending charts, while clips of Angela's comments were sliced, shared, and replayed thousands of times. One viral post even slowed the footage frame by frame, just to catch the tiny smirk on Angela's face when she said, "He's trying to rewrite the narrative through the courts again," and that's when things went nuclear. Angela revealed the lawsuit wasn't just a small defamation spat, like many assumed. She claimed it involved Harry attempting to suppress damaging internal communications that could, in her words, fundamentally challenge his version of history. That single line sent shockwaves through the royal watching world. Because if what she's suggesting is true, then Harry isn't just suing to protect his reputation. He's trying to bury something much bigger. And the very idea of a royal covering up hidden evidence, that's the kind of scandal tabloids devour like sharks circling fresh blood. Almost instantly, palace insiders began whispering to their favorite reporters, and the tone was icy. One source told The Telegraph, "It's extraordinary. He spent years demanding transparency, and now he's allegedly doing the opposite when it suits him." Another insider didn't hold back, calling it nothing more than a desperate attempt to erase the past. While this PR firestorm raged across Britain, Harry was reportedly pacing the halls of his Montecito mansion like a man possessed. Meghan, according to a close friend, was frantically on the phone with their lawyers, scrambling to figure out if they could pressure Angela Levin into retracting her comments before the story exploded into full-blown front-page chaos. But here's the catch. They couldn't. Angela hadn't broken any laws. She didn't leak documents. She simply repeated what she claimed to know from longtime royal contacts. And that makes it dangerous for Harry, because legally he can't sue her without risking the lawsuit itself becoming the doorway through which those secret communications could actually come to light. It's a legal trap door, and Harry looks like he walked right into it. By the next morning, even American entertainment shows had grabbed the story. The coverage was brutal. One commentator on Good Morning America sniped, "Harry seems to be suing everyone, but looking guilty of everything." Over in the UK, a morning host joked that Harry might need to launch a GoFundMe just to cover his legal addiction. The mocking stung the hardest because it attacked the image Harry treasures most, being seen as the dignified prince wronged by the press. And then Angela Levin doubled down. Instead of retreating, she went back on GB News and calmly declared, "If Harry thinks suing everyone will silence the truth, he's mistaken. It only makes people wonder what he's trying to hide." That line went off like a bomb. Overnight, the narrative flipped. Harry wasn't the victim anymore. He was the aggressor, the man trying to muzzle the truth. And that's the exact storyline he spent years desperately trying to bury. Now it's everywhere. Things got even worse when legal analysts weighed in. Some suggested that if Harry really is pursuing a secret lawsuit, Angela's revelation could actually backfire, because it might force the courts to unseal certain filings. Translation? The very thing he's allegedly trying to bury could end up plastered across headlines worldwide. And then came the final humiliation. One of Harry's own supposed allies, an anonymous friend who's often spoken to the press on his behalf, suddenly turned on him. They told the Times that Harry's obsession with lawsuits is tearing him apart, and that every new case only makes him look less credible. That betrayal cut deep. Because when leaks start spilling from inside your own circle, that's when the ship is really sinking. According to reports, Harry exploded when he saw the article. He allegedly accused several close friends of leaking to Angela, and even threatened to cut off anyone who didn't publicly defend him. Meghan, insiders say, begged him to stay calm, warning that every furious outburst only fuels Angela's portrayal of him as unstable. But Harry wouldn't listen. He was already drafting angry statements for their PR team. Ironically, statements that risked shining an even brighter spotlight on Angela's claims. And while Harry spiraled, Angela sat back calm and composed, radiating the quiet confidence of someone who's seen this royal circus play out 100 times before. To Angela, this wasn't personal. It was about exposing what she sees as the hypocrisy of a man who demands total privacy while waging constant public vendettas. But to Harry, it was devastatingly personal. Angela didn't just challenge his legal tactics. She made the world question his honesty, integrity, and, most painfully, his sincerity. As a son still grappling with the ghosts of his royal past, one thing became chillingly clear as the dust began to settle. Angela Levin had completely outmaneuvered him. She said just enough to spark a firestorm, yet not enough to put herself at legal risk. She got the headlines, the attention, and left Harry standing in the ashes, holding nothing but his rage. And if you thought he was done, think again. Insiders say Harry is quietly plotting his next move, and it won't be pretty. What began as a TV bombshell has erupted into a full-blown media hurricane, and Harry is trapped in the eye of it. Dazed, rattled, scrambling for control. Angela Levin's revelation didn't just embarrass him. It cracked open the carefully crafted myth he's been selling the world. And once the cracks appeared, the vultures swooped in. Newspapers and tabloids on both sides of the Atlantic ran exclusive leaks about Harry's so-called secret lawsuit. Former palace aides were dragged out of retirement for cryptic interviews about his litigious streak. Old legal disputes, some long forgotten, were resurrected and splashed across front pages, painting him as a man consumed by vengeance rather than justice. Even worse, Angela Levin wasn't backing down. She became the ringleader of the story, doing interview after interview with that infuriatingly calm, composed tone, like she was reading the weather instead of casually detonating Harry's reputation. Every time Harry's team pushed back with vague denials, Angela would show up the next morning on another show, smiling and saying something like, "Well, if it isn't true, they could simply publish the legal documents to prove me wrong." It was a masterstroke, because Harry could never actually do that. Publishing those documents would only confirm their existence. And so, with every passing hour, Angela looked more credible, while Harry looked like a guilty man frantically trying to hide evidence. Meghan, meanwhile, was reportedly in full-blown crisis mode. A Montecito neighbor whispered to the press that Meghan had been calling PR consultants nonstop, screaming about the optics. She allegedly told one advisor, "We cannot let her destroy the brand." Harry looks unhinged, and that word, brand, kept popping up again and again. This wasn't just legal drama anymore. This was about the Sussex brand, the empire they'd built on carefully curated victimhood and self-righteousness. If Angela Levin's narrative stuck, that empire could crumble like a stale biscuit. Even Netflix executives, usually the most discreet people in the room, were reportedly keeping a close eye on the situation. Translation, they were questioning whether they'd bet millions on a couple whose credibility might be collapsing in real time. One anonymous insider allegedly said, "No one wants to be tied to a ticking time bomb." Meanwhile, Harry was spiraling. Insiders claim he became obsessed with tracking down who leaked details of the alleged lawsuit to Angela. Some insiders say Harry even demanded staff hand over their phones for forensic checks. One former aide told a tabloid, "He's paranoid." Meanwhile, the public turned ruthless. Comment sections flooded with remarks like, "He left the royals to escape drama, and now he's drowning in it," while Angela had him shaking in his boots. Even some once loyal fans quietly unfollowed him. Influencers who had championed his causes posted vague quotes about accountability that everyone knew were about him. It was a slow social death of Prince Harry, unfolding live. And while Meghan tried to contain the fire with PR spin, Harry did what he always does when cornered. He lashed out. Sources say he ordered his lawyers to go nuclear, threatening multiple outlets over false reporting. But here's the problem. Every time Harry threatens legal action, people assume there's something to hide. It's become a running joke. If he sues, he's guilty. That's the nightmare he's living in. Angela Levin didn't just spill a secret, she poisoned the well. Now, no matter what Harry says, people will assume it's damage control. He could produce a sworn affidavit proving her wrong, and many would still whisper it's forged. In the court of public opinion, perception is reality, and Angela just rewrote his. The most chilling part? Insiders say she's not done. A GB News producer claims Angela hinted off camera that she has even more explosive information about Harry's behind-the-scenes battles. She's just deciding when to release it. For Harry, this may only be the beginning of the end. As the day progressed, he went from rattled to utterly unhinged. What began as Angela Levin's casual on-air revelation had grown claws, shredding his image hour by hour. He wasn't just losing the PR battle, he was publicly combusting. Those closest to him say the meltdown was unlike anything they'd seen. One Montecito insider said Harry became a man possessed, pacing the mansion at 3 a.m., firing off furious emails to his legal team, demanding round-the-clock crisis meetings. He allegedly screamed at a staffer for not flagging a headline fast enough, barking, "Every minute this stays up, she wins." And she wasn't just Angela anymore. Angela Levin did what even Harry's harshest critics couldn't. She made people laugh at him. That was the fatal shift. No longer a tragic rebel prince, Harry became a punchline. Talk shows joked his lawyers work harder than the crown jewels. Memes showed him hiding under tables every time Angela appeared on TV. Humiliation was relentless. Meghan, who usually thrives in media chaos, was reportedly panicking. She was furious Angela had dragged their children into, and Angela, calm, composed, smiling sweetly while delivering lines that hit like knives. "I only reveal what I can back up," she said. Social media exploded. Suddenly, it wasn't about whether she was lying, it was about when she would reveal the proof. Parliament even started sniffing around. MPs asked if royal titles could be revoked if heirs were granted under misrepresented circumstances. Everyone knew what that meant. Archie and Lilibet. Harry's personal war had just become a constitutional crisis. Meanwhile, Angela thrived. Book sales skyrocketed. Social media followers exploded. She became the most in-demand royal commentator, commanding interviews and six-figure deals. Harry, scorched earth, alienated allies, imploding reputation, and a legal war he couldn't possibly win without exposing himself. And the nightmare wasn't over. Just as Harry prepared to file his lawsuit, Angela hinted she might reveal the very documents he'd been trying to hide. This wasn't just about his reputation. It could erase his family's place in the monarchy. Harry's carefully constructed, wounded hero image was collapsing. Montecito was said to be funereal. He went radio silent, pacing like a caged animal. Meghan, ever the strategist, urged a counterattack, but even she seemed rattled. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace's silence spoke volumes. Sources say King Charles privately expressed relief. The truth vindicated years of quiet suspicion about Harry's legal crusades. William reportedly joked to a friend that Harry had built a bonfire of lawsuits and then doused himself in petrol. Brutal. British media pounced. Headlines screamed, "Royal hypocrisy exposed," and Levin lowers the boom. Social media piled on, trending hashtags like Sue Meghan, mocking Harry's litigious streak. It was the perfect storm: legal humiliation, public backlash, and a family quietly reveling in his downfall. Angela Levin had done what no tabloid, Netflix doc, or Palace leak had managed. She shattered the illusion. The once golden prince now stood alone, exposed, silent. And the kicker? Angela hinted she wasn't done. At the close of her jaw-dropping broadcast, she smiled at the camera. "This is just the beginning." The world knew the war of reputations had only just begun.